Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad to see everyone here. It's really good. One thing about my dad is he had a strong sense of honor and duty, and he went to every funeral and wedding that he was invited to. And clearly you all have that same sense of honor and duty because you're here. And it's not always convenient to be here, but your presence is noted. So thank you for that. We're here together to celebrate the life of J.A. Brown. He's known as Uncle Bliss, Bud, Al, and Opa and Dad. He was especially fond of family, and I remember saying just to Patrick and to Andy how we used to all get together at Granny and Grandpa's house and would have a music fest, and there'd be bodies all over the floor sleeping. Uncle John and Howard had the fiddle, and my dad had the harmonica, and it was. Grandpa sometimes played his ancient accordion. Remember that?
I think Uncle Howard had the fiddle too.
Al? Okay.
Yeah, Howard.
Howard had the fiddle too?
Yeah.
I had the accordion.
Okay, good.
Still have it.
All right. Collector.
Still works.
I know that we're all here together, so I hope we'll have the opportunity to mix and mingle. And that's one of the good things about funerals and wakes is that you do get to meet with people and catch up with each other. So we have this room until all day. So feel free to stay for as long as you like. Some other information that you'd be interested in. We have most of my siblings here represented, and we have Al's family, who's en route. Okay, yeah. But we do have Elf and Tom Tech, who are Al's daughter and her partner. And we'll announce the others when they come here. And Dan, of course, has Jessica and her family, Mark and Mark and Kylie and Kaylee, Meredith and Liam, right? And Dan. Kyle. Okay, good. And Jessica and Mark and Nash, or Dan. Stop pointing at each other, you're getting me confused. Jessica and Dan and Nash. I'll talk about Dad's Alzheimer's, I think it's contagious. Also, we have Ron and his family, Sue, Sheila, Katie's on road, sorry. I have my sister Colleen and David, and thanks to David, we'll have this videograph so that if you want the shared stories, he'll make them available to us all and to those who couldn't make it. And my sister Colleen will have some extra activity that we'll announce a little later. Of course, we have Rob and yours truly, Tim, my wife Tina, and my son Joel and his family, Michelle and Kaylee. See, I'm getting all the Kaylee mixed up. My daughter Leanne, there's another Leanne, and her friend Sunit. And I should point out, did I miss anybody?
No.
Okay. Any stories that you'd like to share? We are recording it, so please come up and do a sharing. I know there's one that I mentioned about Alzheimer's, and Dad had it pretty bad, but he never lost his sense of humor. This past Christmas, I said, you like to read books? I said, what kind of books do you want me to get you? And he said, oh, no, I don't need anything. And then he changed his mind. And he said, well, you can just get me one, because every time I pick it up, it's like new to me. He never lost it. It was great. It was great. If you have any other stories, then please share.
One of the last events that we shared with Opa, we took him to Zwick's Park in Belleville. And we got there ahead of him. And he arrived and he got out of the car and came walking up. And you never knew how much he was aware or not. So I walked up to him and said, "Hi, Dad, it's Rob, your favorite son." He goes, "That's the fourth time I've heard that today." I'll tell you one more about him. Opa worked all his life. No matter what he was doing, he always had an extra job. And when he was supposed to be retired, he was working at a funeral parlor in Belleville, digging ditches and building walls and fixing everything. And they asked him if he wouldn't mind doing some limousine work. So sure. So he drove, I think he did 2 or 3 trips to Toronto Airport, picking people up. And then they asked him if he would mind doing a pickup. Sure. I guess he didn't understand the terminology. So he was sent to Kingston to pick up a body. But he had never done it before. So he showed up at Kingston General with a hearse, went in the front door, and asked for this woman. And the guys in the morgue came running up panicking because they'd been paging her for 10 minutes over the PA system. They go, no, she's back. So Opa drove the hearse around the back and she was on a gurney. But she had a bunch of sheets wrapped around her. Well, Opa, not wanting to be one to waste, didn't think he should take the sheets. So he unwrapped her and left the sheets there and brought her back to the morgue, back to the funeral home. And they never asked him to do another trip again. Is there anyone else who'd like to do a story? Who wants to do a story about Opa? Come on. Going once?
I have one.
There you go. I knew the auction would work.
As long as I known Opa, you could never find his glasses, his wallet, or his keys.
Or his teeth.
Yeah. Anyways, every time we go visit, God, man, where are my keys? Where are my glasses? And so one time we were there and we're looking, and I looked at Gina, his special significant other. I said, "Where do you think the glasses will be?" And she says, "It could be anywhere on the farm." She goes, "Last year he found glasses in the tree where he hung it after cutting wood. It was there all winter. Another time it was under the hood of the car because he was working on it and then went to do something else." She says it could just be anywhere. And so it was like every time we go to the farm and he needed to find something, it was like, oh, this is going to be a long day. Anyways, anybody else have a story?
Most of you don't know that Dad was pretty close with a buck. Some degree. Yeah, tight-fisted. But at our first house that Dad ever owned was in North Bay, Ontario. And nice house, except it had a real steep front yard. So Dad decided he wanted to build a retaining wall. One day, he asked us to go out fishing in a little 12-foot Crestliner aluminum boat with me, Rob, Dan, and Dad. And that's all. There was no more room. 3 small seats. So we're out on Lake Nipissing, and it got a little rough. And then the 12-foot boat, overloaded at the time, we were feeling a little rough. So we were going out fishing. We had a rod. We were all set to go. We're heading out towards French Island, which is miles away. You can barely see it on the horizon. And as we got close to an island, the motor quit. And this was a motor I'm pretty sure he got for free. It was an Evinrude. I mean, it was Art Deco style. And so the motor quit. Dad got the oar. He only had time to make one. And pulled us to the shore. It was getting pretty cold at this point. So we built a fire. And Dad said, well, you gotta build it pretty big because I gotta work on the motor. And sure enough, he worked on the motor. It must have taken a half hour, but he got it going. And he said, oh, by the way, there's some rocks here that would fit the wall. To build the wall. That was his goal. To get us out there. And we loaded more rocks, probably about 2 feet of rocks in the bottom of this boat. The gunnel was about that far from the water. And the water's getting rougher. We rowed back, and this took us probably an hour to get back to shore. And lo and behold, Dad had brought his trailer, and I don't know why. Well, that was to carry the rocks. Unloaded the rocks, brought them home. Didn't have to unload them at home, thank God. But Dad built this wall about 3 feet high with all of these flat stones. Whenever there was an area where there were flat stones, Dad stopped. We'd have to load some into the car. We built this thing. Ordinarily, it'd take someone 3 days, maybe a week to build it. It took 3 months. But that wall is still there today.
Yes, it is.
Tim went back. I remember it, and I don't know how old I was when we jumped off that wall. We thought we would never land. It's 3 feet high. But the end result was, and we also had to pick up the backfill. The end result was he had a perfectly even lawn for no money. And that's the best. It's like,
He was happy.
On sale is good. Marked down is better. Free is best. Anyone else? Oh, and
Some of my favorite memories growing up were going to Opa's farm, all in our brown van, singing, well, I'll go to Opa's house to have a cup of tea. And unlike Opa, we would actually stop halfway through and overnight in a hotel. It would not be a 24-hour go. It's easy to remember Opa's place because nothing ever changed in that house. The same pictures on the wall, the same kind of musty smell, the same piles of rusted crap in the backyard.
Rusty crap, that's good stuff.
in case you needed it for some other project, including empty margarine containers, I remember that. There was always some sort of animal roaming around his farm that he would always feed, and all the animals knew where to go. And I remember it was after his 90th birthday. I had a week vacation and I visited him, just me, Opa and Dina, and I spent a week on the farm. And that was around the time he had contacted Veteran Affairs to have his full history of his entire career in the Air Force sent to him. And he said he wanted my help with it. And so I said, oh yes, certainly. And he was so upset because he was expecting this huge file of papers to come in the mail and he got a CD. He was so angry. He didn't know, he just couldn't get it to work. He was like, God damn it. And I looked at the CD and I said, okay, yeah, I can certainly help you. And I go into his computer room and it's dial-up. And I turned it on and I saw that he had put the CD upside down. So I flipped it, put it in, and it worked. I do know that I've heard stories about how he was authoritarian, but with me and with during the family reunions, he was always so kind and so sweet and always had a need to play horsey on for us. And the only times I heard him angry were those cotton picking drivers that didn't know what shade of green to accelerate on. But other than that, all good memories.
All right.
Hey, brother. It just really struck me that none of the animals that were on the farm ever died. They all went to live somewhere else. Benji, Abu, their cats, dogs, never died. That was pretty amazing. I think it had something to do with she's gonna ask me some more damn questions. Never shuts up. Questions. Could be something to do with that. But with the computers, so I know girls don't want to say what computer. So I'm a computer person, and when we went there the one time, the computer wasn't working, and I looked at it, and I knew what I had to do, and I came out and I asked him for a Phillips screwdriver, and I thought he was going to detach it right there, because when I went into his room with the screwdriver towards the computer, I was like, what? You're a girl. But yeah, I fixed it, and he was happy, and I think the proudest I ever was in my life, weird as it is, was when we were shopping together, and he wanted a can of tomatoes, and he picked one out. And I went and I grabbed a different one. I went, this was like 3 cents cheaper. He was like, you are such a good shopper.
If you ever would like that rabbit, just, I'll leave it right here on.
Just keep passing it around. Hand it to somebody. Zach's got it. Okay, now be honest now. How many of you have ever lied about how much you paid for something to make it a lot cheaper for Oba? All of us. How much was that? 2 cents, Dad. Good. But the angriest I ever saw Opa was Tim and I were making sandwiches, and he came in and he was furious because we had choose one because we were making peanut butter and jam sandwiches. Oh no, you can't have both. Pick one.
2 desserts.
Well, we used to go out with a station wagon and buy $80 worth of groceries, fill the station wagon. Now, of course, you can carry it in a clutch purse, but he used to buy these giant bags of puff wheat and powdered milk, powdered skim milk. Now, if you've ever made powdered skim milk, it's just slime in a glass. Horrible. And my job as the youngest was to do the margarine. He'd buy this white lump that had a little
Red
dot on it, and my job was to squeeze it all in to get it to look like, it never tasted like, but it looked like butter. All right, who's got another story? Come on. Let's hear one from over this table. Come on, you got lots.
Okay, so Leanne was talking about how the house. Leanne was talking about how the house never changed, and so all of my memories of Oka are in that house. And so I remember, I don't know if everybody here remembers the brown lounge chair in the living room.
Yeah.
Never changed. All the pictures of the grandchildren on the wall, and that musty basement where we always had Christmas. And so every Christmas we would all kind of gather around, and he would distribute all the presents to everybody, so that everybody had a chance, and we all had to wait until everybody had their turn to open the presents.
That brown chair, by the way, I threw that out about, many years ago. Opa got it out of the garbage. It had been in the rain for like a week. And he goes, nothing wrong with this. I said, Dad, it's been in the rain outside. Well, it just washes it.
Oh, and also, one thing that never ever changed was the glass bowl of candy that was sitting on his desk. With like yeah, those little licorices and the black jelly beans. What was with the black jelly beans? I don't know.
All sorts, licorice, all sorts.
All right, so this is, everybody knows Opa's personality. He's just gruff, grumpy old guy. And I always thought that, you know, there was a soft side to it, but you very rarely see it. But he came out to visit in Utah when Nan was sick. He got lost on the plane. I don't remember, I mean, we finally got him, but he came out and...
He missed his flight.
Oh, he missed his flight, so there you go. He came out and he was staying at our place, and we were having dinner one evening, and Colleen said grace on the food, and when she got done, Opa said, and please bless our dear Nancy.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was awesome. I've never seen that side of Opa before. He does have a soft side.
I think Grumpy too if I had to drink that water all the
Oh, yeah, the sulfury water.
Okay, speaking of boats, that same fishing boat, he needed help, and there's nobody else around but me. I was probably 11, and he had me hold the boat up in an upright position so he could work on it, but it kept listing and listing and listing, and I think it's too heavy. Oh, you're fine, just another few minutes. And it was all I could do was hanging on to that boat, and I thought, who in their right mind makes an 11-year-old hold up a heavy fishing boat? Another boat story is when I can't remember, it must have been Tim and Rob. We went fishing in that boat, and they got to pee, and I said, I gotta go too. And he said, well, how are you supposed to do that? I said, I don't know. He said, well, jump in. I said, well, but then I'll get my pants wet. But yeah, I remember there was a storm coming in, and it was on Lake Nipissing.
Yeah.
And storms often came in because it's a shallow lake. And so he started giving us first, response questions answered and stuff about how to get it, what happens if we dump the boat and the waves come in and we're supposed to hang on to the boat. And I don't think we had life jackets. I really don't think so.
What does it work?
Too expensive, yeah. So I wasn't very happy. I think that was the only fishing trip I went on. I didn't even like fish.
Tell them about the sander when I cut myself.
Well, this is after I was married, and we came to visit, and they were fixing up the house to sell. Because he was transferred to Labrador. And so, that couldn't have been the time, no. Anyway,
Right age.
we came in, anyway, and Rob was working with sander. He was just a little guy, and, teenager, and he was sanding, and he just sanded it right into his knee. And there was blood everywhere. And Les and I went in and said, come on, we gotta go to the hospital. You don't need to go to the hospital. Just put a Kleenex on it. We've already soaked 2 bath towels. And so we ended up taking him, he was a little upset that he got blood on the floor that he was sanding. But it was a deep
Right to the bone.
Yeah, it was a
Just put
bad.
Kleenex on.
I know where that comes from. Opa was sawing wood, and I was helping him load.
Messed up can.
Oh yeah, I was helping him load the wood. And he told me a story about when he was a kid. he was chopping wood, and when he went up like this, the axe came off the handle and came right down on his head, blade part, and split it right like that. It was bleeding all over his face. So he did the normal thing, because his mother was playing bridge, didn't want to interrupt her, just went in the bathroom and sat down with a towel. Meanwhile, it's all full of blood everywhere, and his mother came in, and she's like, oh my goodness, and she went in and put a cup of flour on his head, and that's it. That's all he did. So at least he didn't get a flour treatment.
I didn't get flour, but Dad wouldn't waste the flour.
I know. Well, you can reuse it, but what do you?
Oh yeah, this is a historic story that we always tell every time we get together. Dad did take us to different places, and he would drive us. And he had a big station wagon, and we went to Florida. And I think it was at least 5 of us in there. And it got dark and everything, so he pulled off to the side and said, okay, get out your sleeping bags. We're sleeping in the car. And we were in this, you know, the kind of sleeping bags that are made of nylon, and as soon as you move, it's like a and he said, what's going on back there? Keep it down. But Dad, I don't care. Be quiet. Well, we parked right beside a swamp, and mosquitoes were coming in, and we're trying not to swat them too loud because he got mad. And he said, all right, and drove us to a hotel. That's always a story.
But we had passed a sign for a Holiday Inn was $24.95. God, I'm not paying $25. God damn, no. Sorry, gall darn. So we sat beside that swamp long enough to get all of our bodies eaten alive, and then he took us to it.
And we could kid about that, and he had a great sense of humor. He'd laugh along with it too. He knew that's the way he was. But as soon as any of his kids needed something, he was there.
Yeah.
He was there. And if people needed money, I went to Europe for 3 months. It ended up being 3 years, and it was between my 3rd and 4th year of university, and I just wanted to get out and do travel, because I figured, well, if I graduated, I'd never get the chance to travel again. So I did that. 3 years later, I came back, and I didn't have enough for my last year's tuition. And immediately he said, here, there it is. I said, okay, well, how much do I owe you? Just get your degree. And I know my other siblings have very similar experiences. As soon as any need was there, he was right there, and he made sure that we were all taken care of. And of course, his savings are to our benefit. He didn't spend it because he didn't like spending. He just didn't like the feeling of it. He liked the security for his family, and that's the way he operated. So we always keep that in mind. Any other stories?
I have one more.
Okay.
I have many more, but I'll say one. The year was 1967, Expo year.
Oh, yeah.
We went, just the 3 kids, right? Just you, Tim, and
Rob and you?
I think so. Ron, you didn't go to that,
No.
right? No, I think I was
Just
it.
3 of us.
Yeah. Anyway, we camped, and we got to go to Expo and all the rides and everything, and we did it till we were sick. We had vouchers.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. And we had vouchers for food. We just had a blast. So then we were sick of it. We were done, came home. He went back and spent the rest of the vouchers on the rides and the food. so that it wouldn't go to waste. I could see you open the tilt-a-whirl all night. Anybody else?
I got one from James. Well, just, he said that he wished he realized how good parents he had after he didn't have parents. So, just so you guys know, he appreciates it, you know.
One time, me and Opal were playing spiders.
Spiders? Oh.
They weren't crawling on the ground. Yeah. Carefully.
Oh, yes, yes, I remember doing that.